Welcome to Real Estate Milestones, where we explore fascinating topics in commercial real estate with knowledgeable industry experts. I'm your host, Ben Malik, and I'm a young real estate professional who is passionate about adding value to people's lives through the incredible power of real estate. My goal is to help you discover what the heck is going on in the industry and how you can get involved. This is Real Estate Milestones, where your future in real estate lies just around the corner.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Estate Milestones. Today we have Pete Reese, who is going to talk about land flipping. He's the president of Reelvest Properties, where he invests in land, and we'll learn what land flipping is if you've never heard of the concept. But Pete's also a descendant of royalty, so it's an honor to have him on the show.
Well,
For coming on,
thanks for
Pete.
the introduction, Ben. I appreciate that. And yeah, looking forward to getting into the land flipping and whatever else you want to talk about.
Awesome. So let's start with, what's your first milestone in real estate?
My first milestone in real estate is actually buying our first home, myself and my wife, and that was in the year 2000. We bought a home here in San Diego. It was 195,000. Bought it with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, I think. And we wrote it into the contract, the deal where the seller would pay some of our closing costs as well. So we kept our out-of-pocket expenses pretty low, and that property was kind of a big springboard towards other things in real estate. We held it for only 2 years, and then we resold it, and I think we made about $50,000 profit, and then that kind of spiraled from there. So
Cool, awesome. And so from there, how did you get to land flipping?
yeah, it was kind of a long and winding road, as they would say. But so started with that first house, and then we took that money and parlayed it. We then stepped up into a bigger house, more expensive house that needed more work. Did some renovations on that place. Then we started actually flipping homes. We started buying homes, fixing them up, and then reselling them. That became kind of our full-time business and full-time focus for a while. This is in the early to mid 2000s. 2007, 2006, I got my broker's license, and I got it just so I could get better access to deals because I was buying everything on the MLS. So I could show myself properties. I could, be the first one to check out these deals without having to wait for an agent. And so I got my broker's license for that reason. But then the market crashed here in 2007, like completely fell off a cliff. So having that broker license was actually very useful. So I positioned myself as a listing broker for the banks, REO foreclosure properties. Those were the only things that we're selling. And it was nice to be able to have that license and to be able to kind of pivot into that pretty quickly. I pivoted out of the land flipping at the time because there weren't many buyers there. The buyers on the market at the time were basically cash buyers and investors. So I did that for a while, and that was a good business at the time. Then I sort of transitioned into working with investors, large investment companies that I had kind of got hooked up with through that REO listing broker business. And for a while there, I was just finding them deals. Like I was focused on finding them properties. I knew what they were looking for. They were cash buyers. They would close quickly. They'd buy as many property deals as I could find them. So it was a great kind of relationship we had for a while. After that, I transitioned out of real estate for a while, working with the business with my wife regarding blogging and blogger training, kind of like an online education business. So that was a real focus of ours for a while, and that was very successful and fun business. But I got the itch to get back into real estate and specifically real estate investing. And I was just trying to figure out what type of model I should go with. Doing a lot of reading online, listening to podcasts, watching videos, stumbled onto land flipping. And I wasn't an expert in land. My whole business was to that point was all about single family homes. And I saw, anecdotes of people talking about, hey, I bought this property for 10,000. I sold it for 30,000 in a short amount of time. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I'd love to be able to do those types of things. So I bought a training program, went all in on that. Ended up in 2021, March of 2021, we resold our first property using the land flipping model. That first, partial year ended up doing about 1.25 in revenue, 1.25 million in revenue, and about 50% gross profit margin. So on average, we try to buy a property, say we buy a property for 20,000 and we try to sell it for 40,000 after all is said and done. So at that 50% gross profit margin, that's what we were able to average that first year. Second year ended up doing about 3.5 million in revenue, so really stepped it up. The gross profit margin was slightly under 50%, but still pretty close. And then 2023, looking to do 10 million. So each year we're really trying to step it up and do bigger and better things.
Awesome. So it seems pretty simple. You buy land for less than you sell it in some amount of time. Is that what land flipping is?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you want, I can kind of go into exactly how we do the model, how we source the deals, and all that kind of stuff.
Of course, that's what I want to
Yeah.
know, because at this point it seems extremely simple, and I guess it is extremely simple, but obviously execution is what is where the challenges come in. But I guess what first thing I'm wondering is how, why would the person who owns the property not sell it for what you end up selling it after you buy it for?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons. The biggest analogy that I like to say is that we're a convenience buyer. So it's no different than if you have a car that you've been driving around, you want to go buy a new car. In most cases, you could sell that car on a private market. You could sell that car for quite a bit more than what you could trade it in for at the dealer. People know that they're not getting top dollar when they trade it in at the dealer, but most people trade it in at the dealer because it's a convenience thing. Most people don't want to, go through the hassle of putting ads out there, selling it, and waiting for the right buyer to come along. They just want to trade it in, move on, get their next new car. So we're a convenience buyer in that way. So we pay cash, we close quickly. They don't have to put it on the market with an agent. They don't have to go through this whole process. And we're just a quick and simple, easy buyer for them. Now, some people have tried to sell it through an agent before, whether the agent didn't do their job or the agent overpriced things and it sat on the market for a year. There's all kinds of situations that happen. But a lot of times we can't, we don't know what their motivation is, but we do know that, for some people that, we're a solution that works out well for them.
Awesome. So how do you find a good or a potential seller who's, you can execute your business plan with?
Yeah, we at this point, we're generating all of our business with direct mail. So we send out actual offer letters in the mail to these people. And these offer letters are based off of average prices per acre in a particular area. And it's an aggressive price. It's a cash price that we would buy it for. But we build lists based off of, basically it's public records. All the land ownership records and property ownership records are public data. We use some services that actually compile all that data and build a list. So we might take a particular county and we'll say, and we'll build a list that's 10 acres and above, something like that. And then we'll take that list and take out all the kind of obvious non-sellers. It could be owned by the city or the county or the railroad or something like that. Everyone else that gets mailed, and we mail them an offer price, and then that gets the phone's ringing, and we see what kind of deals we can work out when that comes back. Because the thing is, sometimes we're right on with our offer prices. Sometimes we're too high, there's a problem with the property and our offer price is not really realistic for that. And sometimes we're too low. So sometimes people contact us and they say, hey, we want to sell, but this is where it would take to put the deal together. And then we see what kind of deal we can negotiate at that time. But basically when the lead comes in, that's when we're looking at it really in depth, and we're seeing what we can work out and if it makes sense for both our side and their side.
Awesome. So how many times do you think you need to, or what's the average amount of times you send a mailer before you get a response or before you get a deal? Like how many points of contact do you need to?
Yeah, we send out, when we find an area we like, we send out that mail every 3 months. But it just kind of depends. It's timing for a lot of people. Sometimes the timing just isn't right, and maybe they've got other stuff going on in their lives. So I may send them a piece of mail this month. They may not respond. They may not even, they might throw it in the trash can. 3 months later, their situation may be different. Maybe they've got some money needs. Maybe they just got their tax bill in the mail for that property and they're just sick of paying it. And maybe at that point they're like, well, maybe I'll give them a call, see what we can do. So it's all about timing. So we're just kind of staying in front of them and just kind of sending that mail on a regular basis to those areas that we do like.
Yeah, and how do you find the areas that you like, and which areas do you like?
Yeah, well, I like areas where there's good activity, where there's a lot of transactions happening for land, things that are listed on the market, things that are selling, and areas where there isn't an oversaturation of inventory. So I look at Zillow, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, all these kind of public sites like that. They have data, they have all the land listing data as well. So I pull up a particular county or area and I just look at kind of what the market activity is. How many listings within that acreage range? How many sales sold in the last year? If there's 4 years worth of inventory, I may not mail that area, or I may not mail that area, but if I do decide to, I would have to be a little bit more aggressive on my prices because, it's only going to sell if the property is priced really aggressively. But if there's an area where, it's really, really hot, where there's no listings and there's a ton of sales over the past year, then I know I need to bump up my offer prices a little more in order to get, potential deals, because anything that I put on the market in that area, if it's a decent property, it will sell pretty fast.
And so what is the, I guess, like, what does your offer letter say? Is it just like a LOI, or what have you learned that is an effective, sales pitch, or
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 2-page letter. First page is talking about who we are, what we do, why we're contacting them, how we can help them out. Second page is actual purchase agreement. So 1-page purchase agreement, very simple. It's got their acreage on there. It's got their name. It's got their offer price on there and some real basic terms. And that's about it. And some people just sign it and send it back. Some people will call us or email us and text us and, see if we can work out a deal with those. But that's been the format that's worked out really well for us.
Makes sense. And so once you acquire a property, what's your plan? How long do you typically hold land? What are the costs associated with holding land? Yeah.
We try to sell things as quickly as possible. Our record is holding it for 11 days only. That's the actual time we own the property. And that just happened, I think it was last month in February. So, but on average, it's been about 60 days. At the end of the year, it did tick up to about 75 days on average. But, I think that those hold times are pretty good. 60 to 90 days is really realistic in this business on average. We've got some properties, like I said, that sell really quickly. Some properties take longer. They may take, if we're not on top of things, doing our price reductions and things like that, I've had ones that are taking 9-10 months, but I try to avoid those every way possible. And sometimes it just takes longer because we might get it under contract to sell. We go through this whole contract period and then they back out for some reason, and then we get it under contract again, and then those people back, so you get those types of things. Sometimes you're kind of unlucky with certain properties, maybe, so you end up holding them longer, but so the plan is we always resell our properties with a local agent or broker, and we try to list them at an aggressive price so they'll sell quickly.
Awesome. And I guess, what is I'm so curious about where's why is there such an opportunity to make profit? Why, if it's an active market with a lot of transactions, what's stopping someone from just going with broker, realizing that some people want to buy their land? What's the competitive advantage you have?
Yeah, I'm just we're a convenience buyer and we'll close quickly with cash. If they list a property on the market with a broker, even if it's in a hotter market, generally that's a little bit of a time-consuming process. The agent, the brokers want to come out and evaluate the property. They'll do a listing up. They'll put it at a retail price where it may not sell right away. They could be sitting on it for 6 to 9 months to get that kind of retail pricing, and this just kind of not our model at all. Some people their motivation is not to try to squeeze top dollar out of things. I just sold a car. I just had a car that I drove for a few years, and I bought a new car. And obviously, it would have made sense for me to, try to sell it for as much as I could. But honestly, I was so busy with my business and everything else going on. I was not concerned about squeezing every dollar out of that car sale. So I just went online, did the cars.com thing and a couple of the other sites, and just picked the best one and just sold it. Like, I know I could have sold it for more, but I got other priorities going on. And it really wasn't the best idea for me to be so focused on that rather than doing something else. So,
Right. You literally could have more leverage over your time in your other activities.
yeah, exactly. And everyone's got a different situation. Some people are not concerned about squeezing top dollar out of their properties, and they'd rather go for the convenience.
Great. So how's the changes in interest rates, changes in the market affecting your business in terms of, is it going to be harder to sell? Is your inventory losing value? I guess, like, what are the concerns? Because land is obviously different than cash flowing real estate, but I want to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, land is a different animal altogether. I mean, there are some correlations between the single family house market, which is very tied to interest rates. Land is a little bit different because a lot of the buyers generally are cash. There are some people that buy with land loans, but it's pretty rare. Even when interest rates are super low, maybe 10% of the buyers were using a land loan. More frequently, we get people buying with cash. Who knows where the cash source is? They might be using a home equity line of credit, or refinancing their house in order to get that cash. So there is tie-in to there, I'm sure. We've had, if I really look at it, we probably had maybe some little longer hold times on some of our properties, but not in all markets. Just some. And the one thing about land is it's kind of the ultimate asset in a way, and we're in an inflationary environment, obviously. So holding land over time in this type of environment should probably increase in value. So that's been my take on it. So we haven't had a trouble selling any of our properties at this point. And if I do notice land value starting to go down, inventory hold times going way up, then I'll just adjust my purchase prices accordingly, lower.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. And I mean, I I tend to agree that land is the ultimate asset, given that we're not making any more of it, and as population increases, that's, literally demand, literally supply, right? So it's a pretty good equation. We know Econ 101, price will go up over time, especially if you increase the amount of dollars in circulation, as inflationary practices of the government is doing. So are there any specific markets that you like and dislike? I guess, do different states have different policies that make it easier or harder to execute?
Yeah. Your last question there about, some states are easier than others. So I live in California. We don't really do many deals here at all. We're buying all over the country, but we're not opposed to any market. But some markets are a little bit more difficult. No, like some states are a little bit more difficult to do deals. They're all possible to do deals. It's just kind of transaction costs, time, time to get a deal done or time to get a deal closed. Those types of things come into play. And obviously some markets are a lot more active than other markets. But I'm not opposed to any market really in the United States. I don't know if I'd buy anything in Alaska, but it's beautiful out there. But they've got a lot of inventory of land. I don't know how much is actually public owned land as opposed to government or owned land, but plus it's cold up there. But no, I wouldn't be opposed to Alaska even. Haven't sent any mail up there though.
Yeah, maybe I guess the same forever stamps probably work there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess what are the biggest hurdles or obstacles that you face in your business?
I think sometimes one thing that I didn't anticipate going into this business was the fact that some deals, some purchases just never happen because of title issues. So that's one frustrating thing that I run into sometimes. So that's a challenge. You might get a property under contract, and according to the seller, everything sounds good. They've got clear title, everything's good, but then when the title report, the title search gets done, the title company comes back and says, okay, well, there's 16 heirs that own this property, and every single one of them is going to have to sign because it may be 2 generations back it was left to uh some 5 brothers and sisters, and then one of them died or 2 of them died, then all their siblings own a piece of it, and so those type of situations happen sometimes in land, and it's tough to anticipate, and when they do come up like that, those type of deals never get done. It's just too many people that you got to get on the same page. It's rare that something like that would ever happen. So that's one challenge that comes up.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I guess what are the biggest risks in the business?
Risks would be buying something that isn't worth what you thought it was worth. So you got to be real careful about doing your research on a property, your due diligence, as we call it. And, just looking real closely at the comps, getting someone out to the site to check it out, walking the property, making sure there's nothing that's a huge red flag about it. But doing your research, you can avoid mostly all those issues.
And so are these purchase agreements saying like if there's a problem, I guess, is it like a non-binding purchase agreement? I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, I mean, the due diligence lasts until the close of the escrow. So if there's something that pops up during our, the purchase phase that we don't like, we can back out of the deal.
Cool. It makes sense. Great. So, I guess what is your biggest piece of advice for someone considering, any path in real estate? And I guess then having, land flipping as one of the potential options.
Big thing is research. And not just research. I mean, I guess really learning about that business model that you're looking to pursue, learning everything about it, figuring out how to evaluate properties in that way, learning how the actual business works. And I'm not just talking about doing kind of onesie twosie types things. If you're going to actually go into any particular niche in real estate or real estate investing, you want to learn everything about that business model and how people are making it work and how to set up that as a real business. And then as you get going on that, don't get that shiny object syndrome where you're kind of floating around from one big idea to the next. Just take one concept that you think really aligns well with you, learn everything you can about it, and then just really go all in on it, and don't shift to other shiny objects as they come up, because they will come up. But you'll be way more successful if you just focus on one thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. You get the compounding of your effort in that way and knowledge and everything. So it makes sense. So I'm ready for the lightning round.
Sure. Lightning round. Here we come.
Let's do it. What superpower would you want if you could choose any superpower?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I'd like to be able to be like Flash and run really fast.
Me too. That's mine as well.
That'd be a fun one.
Definitely. So what's your favorite book, or what's the one that's helped you the most?
A really good one. I mean, I've read a lot of good books or listened to a lot of good books. I normally listen to them on Audible, but one of the really impactful ones that I've listened to recently over the past year was called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that's a really useful book because good habits can really amplify your results or produce good results for you. And it's all about, for me, I'm a habit type person. So once I build a habit, then I notice certain areas of my life become, infinitely better. So it's a matter of finding good ways and kind of realizing what those habits are all about and how they can kind of improve your life.
Yeah. What's the stat? It takes 66 to 270 days to build a habit, depending on how difficult it is.
Yeah, I've heard that tossed around. I'm not sure he's a big believer in that. I think he brought it up in the book about that, because I think it's different for each kind of habit that you're building. But there's some interesting concepts in there, like if you do one thing every day, say you brush your teeth every day, but you can't remember to take your vitamins or something like that, he has a concept called habit stacking, where it's just you create a new habit by just stacking on top of an existing habit that you've already got set up. So in that case, you would say either like before I brush my teeth, I'm going to take my vitamins every single day, or after it, something like that. And that allows you to actually create a new habit, but then just kind of piggybacking on something else you've already got established and going on. It's so much easier to do it that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what motivates you to continue every day?
My family, just providing for my family and my kids. My kids are older now. They're 22, 20, and I've got a 13-year-old. So she's my youngest one, but just doing everything we can for our family. So that's what keeps me going.
Awesome. Are they interested in real estate?
Yes, my oldest two daughters, the 22 and 20-year-old, they actually flipped some land too. They about a little over a year ago, they came to me and they said, "Hey, Dad, we like what you're doing. It's really interesting. Could we do some of these properties too?" And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to teach them and maybe teach them a skill that they could just kind of use for their whole life to generate income. So I kind of started off by, they had $8,000 pulled together to start with. They had a company already set up. They were going to do a different business that didn't materialize, but so they had a corporation. They had $8,000 pulled between them, and then they started buying some of the smaller deals that I would just kind of send their way. They, over the course of 6 or 7 deals, I think it was, over a little over a year, they took 8,000 and they parlayed it into 84,000. So
Awesome.
And this is just kind of part time for them, And obviously, I'm helping them along the way and kind of guiding them, but they're big believers in land flipping. And, it's great for them because they don't need to tap into that money at all. So they can just keep on trying to accelerate that pool of money that they've got.
Yeah, this actually brought up a question, I guess. Are you able to do this with the retirement accounts or
Yes.
you are?
Self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k. Yeah, I've bought properties within mine and done really well on them. My stock purchases, not so well in that same
Right.
account. So I'm going to be doing more and more land deals as they come up, or partnering with people on land deals, something like that.
Yeah, this seems like because if your daughter started with $8,000, that was each I guess if that was in a self-directed IRA, that would be
Yeah.
$84,000 without taxes.
Yeah, I know.
Especially if it's the Roth.
Growing tax free. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, sounds much faster than the 7% supposedly we're supposed to make a year in the stock market.
Yeah, I know. When you really think about it, and with stocks too, I mean, there's lots of even if you're buying index funds, there's lots of short-term fluctuations. I mean, I actually used to be a stockbroker. That was my first job out of college. And so I know all about that world, and I still lose money on stocks every time I try to buy them. So land, not so much.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I feel like a lot of times you're in a game where people are, I don't want to say not playing by the rules, but just have a incredible advantage over you, like the high frequency traders.
It's a rigged game, and you don't, and you don't have all the information that they've got. So
yeah. I think about like some of the banks have satellites, knowing exactly how many people go into every Walmart. Like we don't know that.
Yeah.
And how much stuff is in their cart when they come out. You can literally see that from the satellite.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So I put you on the spot. I want to give you a chance for revenge. So what's one question you have for me?
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years. It's a good question. And it's the vision is I have a vision, but it's still so many different variables in terms of, we have a family and those kind of like big questions that I don't have.
Like if you were to design your perfect, future you in 10 years, like what would that be?
10 years. So I'm 21, 31. Okay, yeah. I should have a wife by then. I'm thinking, if not close to having a wife. That we're making a 10 times as much as of money, or our living expenses are 1/10 of the money we're generating passively from real estate.
Okay.
So I want full optionality in terms of what I can do with my time and how I spend it. I want to have time to spend with my family, but also you know, I guess the way I see success is that I'm making an impact on people and creating value for the world. That's kind of my core value. And so in doing so, I hope that I'm providing value through, I guess, through real estate. I think that it's really interesting I really like multifamily, given that I can provide someone with the physiological need of shelter. I feel like that's a great way of adding value. I literally putting a roof over people's heads feels good to know that I'd be doing that. So that's kind of my vision that I I guess for 10 years from now. But yeah, I definitely am. I want to get more clear. But I think I need to start with my 5-year vision and my 1-year
Yeah,
vision.
yeah. Well, I threw 10 years out because everyone always asks about 5 years, but 10 years is a little more advanced planning, I guess. But that's awesome. You've got plenty of time to do whatever you want to do. 21, who knows? I wasn't even, I had no thoughts of any of this type of stuff back then. So
Yeah, yeah. No, 10 years is hard because it's like I don't even have like a structure for like what my motivation or not my motivations, but like what my desires will be at that time, or like what does a 31-year-old want in life. And I guess, I mean, if they're anything like me now, will be still be on the search for wisdom, on the journey
hell yeah.
to wisdom.
Yeah, you will be. And it'll accelerate over time. So yeah, that's great. You're impressive. You're doing this at 21 years old. Like I said, I was nowhere close. I had none of these type of thoughts in my head at that point in time.
Yeah, I guess I was realizing that the power of compounding is a power I have over many people older than me,
Yep.
just given
You
the
got time
time.
on your side. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for your daughters as well. It seems like they have a head start on me as well. So
Yeah, well, they're excited about it, and they're trying to actually this year they're actually doing their own mailings and doing everything that any land investor would do on their own without as much of my intervention or help. So looking forward to
wow.
them actually building a real business around it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congrats on that, and hopefully my kids will also love real estate as much as I do. I think it's
Yeah.
be good for them.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find out more about you? And yeah, any closing remarks?
Yeah, well, the best place to connect with me is to go to my website, first of all, which is turningprofit.com. And on there, I do a monthly income report, which is everything about that's happening in my land flipping business. So revenue we took in, profit that month, every deal we sold that month, like what we bought it for, what we sold it for, how much profit we made on that deal, how many days we held it for, notes on that individual deal, like what went well, what didn't go well. My idea behind that is just to provide as much transparency into the business model as possible. That stuff wasn't around when I got into land flipping. So I think, looking back and thinking like what would have been really valuable for me at the time, and it was seeing this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm doing it. Also, I'm building an entire community that I just launched at the beginning of January around land flipping, and I'll be releasing a completely free training program in there, and not selling anything at this point at all, and it's just all going to be free, and it's going to be everything that's in my brain about land flipping and everything to get a land flipping business off the ground. And then we've got obviously we're on social media and got a YouTube channel. If you just search for @Turning Profit, you'll find us there. Do income reports on there, and we've got a podcast all about land flipping and also other forms of real estate investing. So
Great. Well, I'll definitely check it out and hope everyone else does. Pete and everyone listening, keep making milestones. Before you go, I just wanted to say thanks again for tuning in to another awesome episode of Real Estate Milestones. If you've been enjoying the show and you'd like to offer your support, please leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to increase the show's visibility and help the message get out to a greater audience. I really appreciate your time and support, and keep making milestones.
The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.